you know we've been trying to do this for quite a while now, a few years actually. We finally got to do it today, which is April the 17th, 2009. And you're 94 years old.
You're 94.
That's true, very true. Well, you know, I've teased you about it, and I've told you many times that you've got a degree, in fact a PhD, in the field of life. Isn't that right? And you've got the diploma upstairs, right?
Upstairs.
On your bedroom, is it?
Bedroom.
Well, anyway, we all know that your life has consisted of many varied experiences, and you've gained a lot of great lessons and a lot of wisdom, and I'm sure you would like to pass along a lot of the lessons in life that you've learned to your children, to your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, and to the rest of the family. This is why I've questions to ask you and to record you on the video. So we'll have a video of you, your legacy, for your family, So anyway, the first question I have for you, Auntie, is what is your earliest memory that you remember when you were a child?
Well, I wasn't bashful, so I'd do anything they asked me to do, and people enjoyed it. They asked me to sing a song, and of course they put me on a firm stool, and I'd sing as though it didn't matter. It didn't bother me at all. Like I would sing my song from beginning to end, and then they enjoyed all of that. And then I always remember picking up my youngest sister. I dropped her at school. She didn't want to stay. And before she came across the Common, the Bristol Common, came to the school crying, and she wanted to come home. I had to take her back. And then at recess, she thought that she was done for the day. She came and to where because she was in Oliver School and I was in the Byfield.
Yeah, and this was in Bristol, Rhode Island, in the USA.
Yeah.
Not in the old country.
No. I don't remember nothing because I was only 1 year old when I came from the old country.
Oh, I see, yeah.
So then it was recess. I told her, you have to go back. Then I took her back. This I always remember about my childhood. And then that's about it. Certain things. My grandfather used to tease me a lot because he knew that I had an answer all the time.
Yeah. Very good. You're very smart. Even then.
Even then I remember.
He
said, because he used to... Oh, Conceição. And I used to say, Senhor. And then he'd repeat himself. And then by the end, you know, I used to say, Mama Merda.
we won't translate that.
But that's what he wanted to hear.
Oh, he wanted to hear that from you, the way you said it.
That's why he used to, and that's the answer he used to get.
Yeah.
He used to tease me.
Yeah.
3, 4 times, and then that's.
He just liked the way you said it. The way you said that expression. Very good. That's great. That's a great story. Now, you were saying that people used to like to hear you sing.
My neighbors, yeah.
No, you must have had a nice voice then. You must be talented in music, in singing.
I could. I used to learn, at a certain age, I used to learn all those latest songs.
Why your son, Herman, sings today. He's a singer in the chorus.
Could be.
And he has that special talent maybe he took after you. The next question I have for you, Auntie, is about your parents, my grandparents.
They were a nice couple and nice parents, always tried to provide for us the best that they could, very thoughtful, my father adored his children, and my mother was very thrifty. She didn't spend that easy. When the ice cream man came around, and then we used to say, "Ma, the ice cream man, please, money for." She says, "I don't have change," and I'd answer, "The man will change it."
Very smart. Very smart answer, Auntie.
But other than that, they were always, they were good. My father was a great worker. He worked night and day, because he always took 2 jobs. He worked at Kaiser aluminum place, working on the sneakers. He used to cook the sneakers on those whatever they had, those
the machines, yeah.
And then I remember taking many times. My mother used to prepare a lunch in a little pail, and I used to go. And the watchman that was at the front of the building used to pick it up, knew that it was for my father. And I'd always, he could come. If he could come, he'd come. If not, they'd pick it up. My daddy worked from 3 to 11 at Kaiser Aluminum, in the wire company. And in the morning at 7 o'clock, he'd start here, breaking stone.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Work 5 hours here. So you see, he was a hard worker, and he always loved working. He never liked Sundays. He was bored. He preferred work.
He preferred to work rather than
hang around.
Yeah. Very good. He was a hard worker.
Yeah.
Now, what happened during the Depression? What happened?
During Depression, everything closed. Just like now, they closed. They closed all the factories around here. Everything was closed. There was no jobs around. And the town was helping people as much as they could. They used to, we used to get our bin of coal that we would need to keep our house warm. They'd come, but the person, the head of the house, a man of course, would go and work every 2 weeks, a day or two, to replace part of what they had given them, and that was it. There was nothing they could do around. That's when my parents decided to go back to the Azores.
The old country, yeah. Very good, yeah. And how old were you when you went to the old country, back to the old country?
17.
17. How'd you feel about that?
I didn't want to go.
Didn't want to go.
I didn't want. And but according to what I used to hear them talk about it, my grandmother, my mother, so I knew more or less that it wasn't very pleasant.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And a lot of Portuguese people that stayed.
So you were 17, you went back to the old country, and then when you were in the old country, when the family went there, what was your reaction? How'd you feel?
After the first week, I was so down. I missed already the States. I wanted to come back. And my mother didn't want us to mention it in front of my father, because my father gave in to us easier than she did. But then she says, no, now this is where we're going to stay. So we got used to it. And that was my life for 34 years.
And then you met your husband?
Oh, after 4 years, I got married. I was lucky because I had a good man. He was a good person, but then of course didn't last as long as we hoped it would.
Yeah. How long were you married until he got sick?
Almost 20 years.
20 years. And then he got sick, and then sadly he passed away. Yeah.
Unexpectedly.
Yeah. Unexpected.
We went for that surgery and.
Yeah. Yeah, that certainly was a tragedy, wasn't it? Okay. Now I'm going to ask you about your relatives in the family. What were your favorite?
Well, we always lived close to my grandmother and aunts and uncles. And some of my aunts were close in age with us, so we always hung around.
Played together.
Like brothers and sisters. And then at the gatherings at my grandmother's house, we enjoyed it very much. The family used to get together a lot. She had a huge dining room where it was a rented apartment. And everybody used to gather there on Sundays. And they were a comical family. One would say something. We had a lot of laughs. We enjoyed that. Of course, the older people used to hang on they used to gather together, and the other group together. We always had a lot of fun. We enjoyed it very much.
It seems like you had a great childhood then, with your with your aunts, relatives.
I used to like school, so I really didn't need to leave the country. But my parents were ahead of it all.
Right. And you pretty much, in those days, you followed what your parents wanted you to do.
Oh,
right?
We were very obedient.
Next question, Auntie. How has your life been different than what you imagined it?
Oh, well, while my husband was living, I was happier. It took me a long time to get over it. So those years were days of sorrow. It was hard to pull through. But gradually, like they say, time is a healer of all wounds. So gradually got away from that. It was very. I felt miserable. I started to think, and I lived for my children, not that I cared.
So that was one of your saddest times of your life.
Of my life.
When your husband passed away.
Yeah.
Now, what was the happiest time of your life?
When I got married. When I got married. He was a good husband. In fact, like he had cows, cattle, and he used to go milk the cattle in the morning. And on Sundays, he always wanted to go to church together with me. So I used to wait, and he used to help me wash the milk vessels so that we both get ready, and we always went to church together. Even Tishkin, she lived there. She always used to see us go by. She used to say, this couple just got married. Of because they always saw us together.
Very good.
It was a
Now,
happy life.
after Uncle died, and since you were in the Azores, and I know life was very hard, especially for a woman to survive on their own.
On my own.
How did you manage?
Well, we had those pieces of land, and I continued having men do the work on the land because my son was young, but he was already working down the city as an errand boy, and then stayed as a salesperson at the place. But so had men working on the land, and but I was and I used to sell the crops, but I wasn't free to use that money because I knew that I had to start again the following year, preparing the land and getting the crops planted and all that. So it was very hard. So I gave that a try, and then I decided to people that used to want to rent the land and give me the rent from at the end of the year. When they sold the crops, they used to pay me the rent. That's how I lived.
Very good.
But I missed the crops because I used to have my potatoes, my corn, and then I had to buy all that stuff. It was, but at least I knew I didn't have those bills because every week I had men on the land, so it was hard. I knew that what was left over after I paid my expenses, that I could use more freely than while I had the land myself, when it was harder for me.
Now, and how did Julieta and Herman make out when the father passed away? Mm-hmm.
She felt that as much as I did. She knew her daddy was very good to her, and she kept staying. She stayed in the house. She didn't want to play, but her friends used to come over. She didn't want to go out. Her friends used to come over, and of course, Herman continued working at his job down. He was already.
He was already working down the city.
Yeah. He started, he was 11 years old as an errand boy, and then he got the job. He was already working down there. And then he had to go into the service. So that's another fallback. He didn't make much, but whatever he made came in every month because they used to pay by the month. So it was a little hard, but his boss used to let him go on Saturdays. This is after he learned after the recruiting time. He stayed down the city at the commander's place, and on Saturdays he was home. He used to go straight to work from there. He used to take his clothes to change, and he used to change, and he used to give him 200 extras.
Oh. So, how long after did you come to the United States? Come back to America?
10 years.
10 years. And how
He died in 56, and I came in 66.
And how did you arrive to come back to the States?
Well, I was on the list here in the States, because like we used to...
Quota, the quota.
Yeah, I was on the quota. But I came 6 years after your mother, because we started, and then I don't know why we never got. Then we never heard anymore. But after 6 years, they had closed the immigration. Then after 6 years, after Kennedy, Kennedy died, Johnson took over because Kennedy was working on that, and that's when they started to. I had a petition from my sister Emily it was in Boston. They used to have the consul in Boston.
The Portuguese consulate.
Yeah. And as soon as it was signed, for sisters, I came.
So you came here in 1966.
In December, when they let me know. I started right away. In February, I was ready. I came in February.
And how did you adapt once you came to the United States, to Bristol, back to Bristol?
I was happy to be back, but at the same time, when I was here, I was under my mother's wing and my father's wing. And now I came alone with my daughter, and with nothing, with just a
suitcase.
A suitcase. And you start to think, God, please God, give me help so that I can, you got to start a new life. It's not easy. I used to wonder if I had done well or not for a while there. And then, but I was lucky. We started to work right away, both of us. I used to pity Julietta because she wasn't used to that.
You went to work. Where did you go to work when you got here?
I arrived on a Tuesday and I started working the following Monday.
That was quick.
I got a job the same week. We went for Social Security numbers on Thursday. We arrived here on Tuesday at 11 o'clock at night. On Wednesday, some of my uncles came over to my sister's house. That's where we went. And then on Thursday, we went for our Social Security numbers, and we went to the factory, and we got hired. He wanted us to start on the Friday. But my sister said, no, they'll start Monday. And we started to work.
And what type of work did you do?
Making rugs. The rug factory.
And how long did you stay there?
3 months. Because my sister had asked Joan when she had it, when she needed help, that I was coming in, but at the time she didn't need it. So we started there, and then afterwards, after 3 months, she told your mother, didn't you say you had a niece that came from Portugal? And your mother said, yes. Well, tell her to come in. So Julietta got started. And then when I was going back to keep my job, but I was warned by this other woman, he's going to send you home, because that's what he did with so and so. When they hired when the young one left, he told the other one to go where the other one was. So I stayed home. I didn't go. Julietta got the job. And so the following week, I went, because Macy told my sister, why doesn't your sister come? She knows how to speak English and talk to Joan herself. So I went, and Joan hired me that day. I didn't even come home. 1 week after Julietta.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
So I worked right along. Then But then
No, this was a dress shop that
Dress shop.
that you moved
yeah,
from the rug factory to
to the
M&R Sportswear.
Sportswear.
Right. And how long did you work there
Sportswear.
at the dress shop? Yeah.
Oh, about 11 years
Until you retired.
until I retired.
And how long have you been retired now?
31 years.
Wow. That's wonderful, wonderful. And in very good health for 31 years.
For 31 years.
Yeah. You've had good health all along, pretty much.
Pretty much so.
So, Auntie, if you could do everything again in your life, looking back in your life, would you do anything differently? Would you make something, other decisions maybe differently?
Maybe I would, because as years roll by, you get wiser. I was a timid soul at the time. I think with the experience now, it would be different.
Now, can you think of a special thing that you would do differently right now?
I would have bought a home of my own.
Mm-hmm.
I would.
That's one of the things you would do differently.
That's one of the things that,
yeah.
Because if you're working and you put your mind to it, you can swing it.
Very
That's
good.
about it. Then what a difference. But it came to be a better life. I wasn't worried about, I was working, we were doing pretty well, even with the small pays, $1.25 now at the time. But Juliet used to bring home from the rug place $40.05, and I brought home $40. So that was $80. I started to save right away.
Very good.
Yeah. When after eight months that I put up home, I bought my furniture cash. I didn't go to the best, but I bought my bedroom and I bought the living room. Juliet never liked it. It was on sale.
Sure. You saved some money.
And of course, then started to prepare her to go back to get married. But we already paid her fare to go and come.
Now, how old was she when she went back? How many years was she in this country before she went?
She was here only 14 months. She got engaged before she came. She went back after 14 months.
And then she brought over her husband, Joe.
And they came, she stayed because he went through what he had to. And they came together in the month of July.
Very good. And where did Joe work when he came over?
He was in the sugar factory.
Over there, in the Azores, in St. Michael.
Yeah.
And then when he came over to the United States?
Oh, he got here on a Sunday. On the Monday, when Red Kurt, a friend, took him to American Insulator wire place. Of course, he got hired there. Started working 12 hours a day, from 7 at night to 7 in the morning.
Wow.
And 8 hours on Saturdays. So
he worked 6 days a week.
6 days. And he used to say, "Is this America?" Because he said, "I'm married, I just got married. I don't even sleep with my wife once a week." She said,
because he worked at night.
Huh?
He worked at night during the week.
7 at night to 7 in the morning. We used to meet on the road. We were on the way to work and he was on the way home.
So I know that Joe, he got sick. Now, how many years was that after he got married that Joe got sick?
He was married 15 years.
And already had Debbie and Jean.
Yeah. He was born 1 year after they got married. And then Debbie's younger than him 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
She got a miss in between. Of course, Jean was 15 years old and his father passed away.
So it's kind of ironic that Julieta pretty much had the same fate as you did with your husband.
Yeah.
Her, Julieta with her husband Joe, she was a widow, a young widow early on.
35.
Almost like you a little bit.
I was 41.
You were a little older then.
I was 41 and she was 35.
So you stayed living with Julieta all these years that you were in America up to now. Very good. Now I'm going to change the topic a little bit. I'm going to talk about one of those topics that most people never usually talk about, religion.
Oh, yeah.
Except my father. So I just want to ask you about your religious beliefs.
Well, I believe in God. I believe there's a God. I have a strong belief in God. And I know that we all pass away. We die. But like what they say after we're dead, to me is a mystery. I don't understand it. I don't know if it's true or not.
So you're not sure about heaven or hell?
No, I'm not sure. It's a mystery to me. I wonder if it's like they say, that there's going to be a good world and no pain, or there's no suffering. That I don't understand.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Now, we've got 2 more questions for you, Auntie. Something, again, to pass down to your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren, and all of us, to be honest with you. Since you've had such a long life, in terms of lessons that you've learned in life, what would you like to pass along to your grandchildren?
Well,
to Jack and me.
He's a good. Jack is already great-grand. But, well, it pays to be good. If you can be good, you try your best, because you'll never regret it. You'll never regret it. And that's what I always think of them. So far, they have followed my path. They've been, my children, my grandchildren have been very good.
Looks like they've learned a lot from you. And their mother as well. Very good.
They have.
And this is the last question, Auntie.
Some people that have problems. Their children don't want to go to work. They don't want to go to school. I had no problem with my children. They went voluntarily. They wanted to learn. So they took after me, because I hated to leave school.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to continue.
Yeah, it is a shame you didn't have that opportunity.
Yeah.
Because you loved school so much.
So much.
Anyway, the last question we want to end our conversation with is, how would you like to be remembered?
Oh, I'd like to be remembered as a good person.
Very good.
thank God I haven't had no problems, no trouble with nobody. I think I want to be remembered as, oh, she was a good person.
Very good.